Welcome to another Robot Riedinger production. Today we're going to be creating a custom drawing sheet. Alright, your custom drawing sheet will look something like this. Of course it'll have your name, not my name, but you'll have your teacher's name. Your drawing file name will show up here, scale, material, date, class period. We'll talk about all that. And let's talk about the why you need to do this. You need to be able to demonstrate the parts you make. It's great that you can go in and make a 3D model of the part that you're trying to produce, but how are you going to communicate that information to somebody else about its dimensions, where those dimensions are located, what the different views look like? You need a drawing. This is the 8.5 by 11 version. When you create one in Inventor, when you just open it up, right here it says drawing. So I'm going to click on that and open it up. This is not 8.5 by 11. It's much, much bigger. It's way too big. This is what's called size C. So we're going to change size C to the correct size, which for us is size A. So here we go. We're going to start by right-clicking on Sheet 1 in the browser, and we're going to choose Edit Sheet. Now you can see right here, oh, this was size D, which is way too big. All right, size D is 22 by 34. Huge. All right, we're going to change that to size A. 8.5 by 11. Excellent. So we're going to go ahead and click A, hit OK, and now you can see down here it says size A. But this is kind of taking up a lot of space. Too much space if you ask me. So we need to change its shape too. Change its shape, change its size, so it fits on our sheet better. Throughout the procedure for creating a custom drawing template, I'm going to be referring to the directions from, and you should also be referring to the directions from the PowerPoint, creating a custom drawing sheet. This is going to have all the instructions that I'm going over right now. Okay? So the next step is to erase this title block that's here. It's way too big. So we're going to go over here and expand Sheet 1. It's already expanded. And then we're going to right-click on this one, ANSI Large. And we're going to delete it. It's gone. All right. Very good. Now it's time to expand Drawing Resources. We're going to right-click on Title Blocks. We're going to left-click on Define New Title Block. Great. Now a sketch environment is created. A mistake that students often make is instead of going this path, they choose to create a new sketch. They use Start Sketch to create the sketch, and that's a big mistake. You won't be able to do all the features that you need to do if you follow that path. You need to create the sketch in title blocks like we just did. This is great. Now we can create our new title block. Now that we're in sketch mode, we need to make the title block that's going to go down here at the bottom. If we take a look at the PowerPoint, it gives us all the dimensions that we need. So we're going to have a rectangle that's just over 10 inches long, 1 inch high, and then has some lines separating it. Here's one at 2 inches, another one at 3 inches, another one at 2, and then this one's 1.5 inches from the side. And then there's a line midway up, half an inch, from this 2-inch line all the way to the far right side. So let's go ahead and recreate that. We choose rectangle, and we want to make sure that we're not going to get a coincident green dot here. So we want to make sure that I choose the right spot. So that's 10.240 tab 1 inch. There's the whole thing. And now we're going to create lines. So I'm just going to go ahead and create 4 vertical lines and just spread them out. And that way I'll be able to go back and dimension them where they're located. And if we remember correctly, this right line was 1.5 inches from the far right side. This line was 2 inches. These two lines were 3 inches apart. Normally I would get these lines a lot better lined up, but as you can see, my laptop is just not quite fast enough and it jumps around on me a little bit. And so it's very hard for me to control exactly where they are and center things up. Hopefully your laptops, I know the lab laptops are much better than that. There we go. So we need to draw a line right across the middle here, and we should be able to get a green dot right at the center. Right there we go. So now we know that's right down the middle, and I get another green dot here on the right, and we're good to go. Great. We have all the dimensions that we need. This would be a good point to trim away one little bitty line that we created when we were drawing these lines, and that's this one right here. So you saw I clicked on trim. I'm going to click that one away, and this gives us more room for our file name. This lower left box, it needs a logo. So we need to go find a logo that we can put in here. So you have two choices if you're one of my students, and that's Reseda High School logo or the Project Lead the Way logo. So let's go ahead and do the Project Lead the Way logo. That's a more generic problem. So we're going to type in here Project Lead the Way, PLTW logo. You can see I've already searched for that once before. And we want images, so I'm going to click on images. And this is a nice big one right here. It's already shaped kind of rectangularly, so that looks good. Click on that, choose View Image. Because we're a Project Lead the Way school, we have the permission to use this logo. So we right click and we save image as. Not copy, you have to save it as a file. So now the question is, what are you going to call it and where are you going to put it? Well, this already came up, Project Lead the Way logo horizontal. That's a great name. I'm going to put this in Autodesk projects. I have one folder for all my Autodesk projects, and I'm going to put it in that folder. And I'm just going to have it just in that folder, not any other specific folder. And I'm going to hit save, remembering where I saved it. It's time to put that in. We need to put our image right in here. So we need to choose image. We find image right here. So I click on image, and you can see I have a little plus sign. You're going to left click and drag that plus sign. So to put that image into our drawing template while we're still in sketch mode, we're going to choose the image tool. Now the image I chose is much longer than it is tall. So I could start way up here in this upper left box and drag all the way down to this right box. But I'm not going to do that to keep the proportions correct. I'm going to guess that right about here is a good place to start. I'm going to left click and hold. Some students will click here and then let go, and then their box is really, really teeny and they're not sure what in the world happened. So left click and hold and then drag. And that seems, that's my guess as to what the proportions were of that logo. So I need to find it. Here it is under Autodesk Projects. I click on Project Lead the Way logo horizontal, which is what I called it. And I choose open, and there we go. There's our logo, and the size is pretty good. I'm happy. Excellent. So now you're going to use the text sketch tool to create the information titles in the remaining boxes. So let's start with student name. Choose text. Drag a little title box there. Put that on 2 lines. It's always going to be you, right? So you're going to keep the same name there every single time. So we're going to do that separately. So we click OK, and there's student name. And I just want to position that down a little bit. There we go. That's better positioned. Now I need one for teacher's name. Go back to text. Capitalize teacher. And now let's go ahead and enter what's going to go into those boxes in our title block. Back at text, click and drag, and for this one forgot my first name. And why don't we go ahead and make those bold so they'll stand out. So I'm going to choose bold. Right click OK, double click on this one, then I can go back and highlight it, choose bold, and click OK. Now, these are a little bit trickier, but by spending a little bit of time now, they're going to be easier later. What we're going to do is choose text again, and now it's time for the drawing name. And scale. Material goes here. Date goes here. I made that one a little bit too close to the line. And then class period. There we go. Now we want these fields to populate. So we have a couple little tricks we're going to employ. First, we go back to text, make another text box right here, and we're going to choose this pull down menu. And in this pull down menu, we're going to choose Properties Model. Okay, Properties Model. And the first thing that appears here is Appearance. But we don't want the appearance to show up. What we want is the file name. So we're going to come down here to where it says File Name and click on File Name. And then instead of having to type it, if we click this little X here, it'll type it for us. But we do want to make it bold. We want it to stand out. So I highlight it and I click bold. And then we click OK. And then that shows up. And so what's going to happen is when we put a file in here, a part in here, its file name is going to show up here automatically to save us a little time typing it. Also, the date it was created. This is a very important thing to have noted on a drawing template, on our drawing sheets. So we're going to do the same thing. We're still in text, and I'm going to draw a text box here. Choose Properties Model again, but instead of appearance, creation date. Click X, highlight, and choose bold. You notice it's on 2 lines because of the size of the text box I drew. And there's creation date. Now for scale and material and class period, these, well, class period, you can just enter that in. So whatever class period you're in, let's say you're in period 2, click bold, so period 2 shows up. But scale and material, we want, those are going to be different every single time. And they're not listed under the file name. Where the file name is, it does does say where the date is, but it doesn't say what the scale is. So what we want to do is put a different type of entry here. So we're going to make another text box. This time we're going to choose prompted entry because it's going to ask you, it's going to prompt you to enter something if we do this correctly. And you notice it says enter prompt for field. We want to know what it is that we're entering here. So change the word prompt to scale. So this way when that shows up, we know, oh, this is where we're going to put the scale. Is it a 1:1? Is it a 2:1? Is it a 1:2? What's the scale? So we hit OK. And I just remembered I did not mark that bold. So let's go back and double click on it. It's highlighted and we'll choose bold. Now that leaves material. Click on text, make another text box here. In the final exam and other parts you're going to be drawing and putting these drawing files, it's going to ask and expect you to put what the material is in addition to scale. So you need to enter that. So this again is another prompted entry. But instead of entering prompt, this is material. This way you'll know which one's which when these prompts come up. Again, we choose bold and we click OK. That looks good. Now it's time to save this. So we need a finish sketch, and it's going to ask for a name. Type PLTW title block so that everybody has the same name. So when you ask for help later, we'll know what it's called. Now, here's the part that makes the students really scared. As soon as I click save, it disappears. All that work, it's gone. Why would I do all that work? Mr. Riedinger, why did you make me do all that work for just to disappear? Well, we can't see it, but it is still there. I'm going to click on this plus sign for title blocks, and lo and behold, Project Lead the Way title block. So we need to choose this. And when we do, it's going to ask what is the scale, what is the material. At the moment, there isn't one, right? We don't have a part in here, so we don't know a scale, we don't know a material. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave them blank and click OK. But you can see how it asked me. It prompted me to fill in that information. You also notice there's no drawing name and there's no date because we haven't put anything in here yet. So it's not filling in that information for us. It's not auto-populating those fields. Now this is all ready to go for putting drawings in it. So, but first, we need to save it. So, PLTW drawing template and save. Great. Now we're ready to start putting stuff in here. So what if I put a puzzle piece in here? That sounds like a nice start. So how do we do that? Well, place views is where you want to go. Right here where it says base, Click there. And there's a little magnifying glass right there for looking for that part that you want to find. So I went looking for puzzle blocks, so puzzle cube. And here's some pieces. I like blue, so let's go with blue. And it gives me a little preview of what it's going to look like. And I hit open. Now, there is one view of it. I can change this right now. If that's not a good front view, now's a good time to change it. So I can move this around and say, oh, there or there. But I'm going to stick with the front view. I chose this front view already, and I'm going to stick with it. So what I need to do, you notice that right there where the cursor is, we have the plus sign with arrows in both directions. We need to move this down. That's the front view, so we need to move it down up where we expect to see a front view. Now let's go up here where we expect to see a top view. There's a little outline there of the top view. I click once. I come over here to the right, and notice it lines perfectly up with that front view. And I can click once, and there's the right side. And then I go up here where we expect to see our isometric picture, and I click once there, and there's an isometric. Very good. Now here it shows the scale. So it's a 1-to-1 scale. If this scale was poor, we could change this. Ooh, way too small, right? And of course, one of these, way too big. So 1-to-1 scale, perfect. That's a great size. Not too much of it is parts, not too much of it is white space. These three are important. This one here is going to show hidden lines. This one here, no hidden lines. And this one here is shaded. We don't want shaded yet. So we just want hidden lines for our front, top, and right side view with no shading. So we're going to hit OK. Now this one right here, that is our isometric. That one we do want shaded, and we want no hidden lines. So this part's simple. There's no hidden lines anyways, but we want to turn off the hidden lines. So if you notice, I'm right on the border. If I'm in too close, I just have a cursor, just my arrow. But when I go here, I have that X, those X arrows, those arrows in an X shape. And I click on that. Hidden lines removed is already chosen. Now I can also choose shaded. Click OK, and now it's shaded. That's perfect. Now it needs dimensions. We click on annotate. We click on dimension. There's lots of things here for dimensioning, like text, leader lines. All right, there's some great stuff here. Putting the little X at the center of a circle, the center mark. So we need to show how long this is. I prefer not to dimension off of a hidden line if I can possibly get away with it. But if I do dimensions from here to here and here to here, I'm going to be crossing the part. So I'm going to go off of this line and this hidden line here. So I click there, and as I move this down, do you see my dimension lines are solid, and then all of a sudden everything becomes dotted. Solid, dotted, solid again. Right there where it's dotted, it's telling me this is the perfect distance to be. And I click. Sometimes other symbols will show up here. That here is our dimension that's already going to show up, and there's some others sometimes pop up here. Just delete them. We don't want them. Sometimes these symbols pop up, and they're not supposed to. It's just a glitch. So we click OK. Now we go to the next longest dimension. And notice it turned dotted right there. That is the right distance to be away from the 0.75. And we click OK. And then finally, the full dimension from one side all the way to the other becomes dotted right there. And we click OK. But notice there was a little symbol showed up. Like I said, that sometimes happens. So to fix that, I had to click out and say OK. And when we go in, it looks like that 5 is even a little too small, but I guess it's okay. Double click on that, just come back, delete that little cross, and say OK. And there we go, that's properly dimensioned. Now I can move this. If something's wrong, I can grab this and start moving it around. But please, don't grab the number. Here's why. If you grab that number and start to move it, oh, I'm off center. Okay? And that's bad. I'm not going to accept it when it's off center, when you're sitting way over here or sitting way over here. Unless there's some important reason why it needs to be off center, forget it. I'm not going to accept it. So that line right there, that dash, dot, dash line, is showing me I'm off center. And as soon as I center it up, it becomes dotted. So save yourself the trouble, save yourself the grief, save yourself from having to hear me tell you you didn't do it correctly, and just grab the dimension line. Grab the dimension line and move that, and that 2.25 will stay centered. There we go. We got our dotted lines. It's back where it belongs. So continue on following all the rules for dimensioning. Put all your 5 puzzle parts in the drawing template and dimension them. But we need to save the drawing template. This file needs to be renamed. And it's the blue part, so let's name it the blue part. So don't click Save. We need to click Save As. And now we're going to rename this. And we're, of course, going to put it with our puzzle cube parts. And you can see I already have one that's blue. But we'll call this Project Lead the Way Blue. And click Save. So it no longer says Drawing Template up here. Now it just says Project Lead the Way Blue. There you go. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing your drawings. And thank you for viewing another Robot Riedinger production.